Association podcast. We do this every week on Tuesdays at 3:00. We get together and talk about all things real estate investment. And Nadia, I don't see you on here. If you're there, go ahead and put yourself in the chat box or raise your hand. I'd love to bring you in whenever you're ready. We get together every week, and this is a part of the LA County Real Estate Investors Association program, which is includes, among other things, a great event every month. This is the website LAREIC, and we have an event every second Thursday of the month in LA, in the Culver City area, at the Iman Center. We'll have about 250 people. We have a great speaker lineup this week that I interviewed, Abbas Mohammed. And then we have a vendors expo before that with about 50 great vendors, including yours truly. We get together and help people who are looking to build their business. And there's our speaker on how to get started in investing in multifamily properties. So that's every month, but this month they'll be on the January 12th. It's the second Thursday of every month, 6:30 to 9:30. And there's the address. For more information, go to the LAREIC and you'll get all the details. For those of you in Ventura, it's on the night before that, January 11th, the second Wednesday, and you can text or reach out to me for details. We had a little pregame here. We talked about the Rose Bowl, and Winston Covington asked, what do good seats cost? And the answer, Winston, is there were no good seats at the Rose Bowl because USC wasn't playing in it. So there were no good seats at all other than the television. Okay, so now we have that squared away. I want to share with you guys.
And I got my seats for free, so I don't know.
That's what they're worth. There you go. Thank you for sharing that with us. And you had to wait in line to get in. So I want to share with you guys kind of a thought that came across my desk. We're clearly in a economic era of volatility and I would say danger in terms of the overall economy. I think by any stretch of the imagination, we've been in a recession, and now even the people who said we weren't in a recession are all saying we're going to be in a recession. A recession really only means the overall economy declines even slightly, 1%, 2%. So, oh my God, I'm out of go! Okay, there we go. So let's do this. Okay, there we go. We'll go ahead and remove that person. Oh, how about that? We got, this is really getting to be regular now. Let's see. Remove. Okay, there we go. That's a shame. It's interesting that people have, if you're going to put your video on, put it on now. Otherwise, I'm going to take away that possibility from security. And you can go to the chat box until we go there. Okay. What I was saying is that we're clearly entering some sort of a recession type scenario, any way you slice it. And so I don't think that means we're in a real estate crisis or crash. Clearly, the market's slowing down. Clearly, prices are adjusting. And if you read my Monday email, by every standard, at most, prices are going to give up a portion of the tremendous increases we experienced over the last 2 years, at most. So we would normally call that a correction of sorts. Now, maybe in some areas it's worse, though. If you watch my blog on next week, I'm going to talk about San Francisco. Maybe the prediction is San Francisco's housing will drop so much that will only go up equal to the inflation of the last 2 years. That's hardly a crash or crisis. It's certainly a correction from an incredible period up. But I do think in the industry of real estate, we are going to have a recession or depression, in that most statistics tell us that we'll have a decrease in the number of people in the business by about 30%. We'll have at least 30% less loan officers, as a business that has been based on nonstop decreases in rates is now experiencing an increase. And so the refinance market, which has been the leading piece of the mortgage market for the last 10 years, I used to be a mortgage lender. If I had known that rates were going to go straight down over a 10-year period, we could return over the same customers over and over again, I wouldn't have left. But so people who made a living just on refinancing are getting wiped out in the mortgage industry. And then real estate agents, and I've been saying for a long time, that even a monkey could sell a house for the last 2 years. If you literally went in Los Angeles to Wilshire Boulevard, it had a monkey with a sign that said, "We'll sell your house." Sellers were so frustrated trying to find people to sell the house, they would have picked the monkey and negotiated the commission, and the house would have sold. That's how crazy the market's been. That's not true now. Now we're hitting into a more normal market. And so my real estate and mindset coach is Grant Cardone, Uncle G, 10X, right back there, Grant Cardone. And so he had a blog post last week that I thought was fantastic. It had 3 main points to focus on. How do you succeed through this recession in the overall economy or adjustment in the real estate market? And there were 3 things to focus on. Number 1 is discipline. For the last few years, your business could grow without any discipline. You could sell a house once in a while just by showing up once in a while. You could flip a house by finding it once in a while. And now you need to have a system and work at it, much like panning for gold or digging in a gold mine. You need to put the time in to find the work, to find the deals. It takes work. Every investor I talk to, for example, I'll give you one example. Every investor I talk to, when they tell me they found a deal, I ask them, where'd you find it? And I'd say about 80% of the time, they'll tell me it was in the MLS. They look through the MLS and they sift through it, kind of like sifting through a pan of dirt for gold, and they find a nugget once in a while. They'd like to add another way to get business, but 80% of the business they get is through the MLS. It's just a lot of work. I had another realtor last week who approached me about duplicating what I do in probate real estate. And she asked me, can I do this? Can I do that? And I said, I don't think you can just buy data and mail postcards and expect to sell houses in today's market. I think you could have 2 years ago, but I don't think you can today. I don't think that's a realistic expectation. And she said to me, the word she used was very telling. She said, because she was disappointed, I was looking for a more shotgun approach to getting business, meaning she wanted just to buy the data, find some program to mail out for her, and then fill the incoming calls and list houses. Well, we all would like that. Who would like that, by the way? Just show of hands. Who would like just to hit a couple websites and then sell a house or 2 a month? Yeah, I would love that. But the reality, the real work is calling people so that you build the skills so that when they do call you, you're prepared to handle it. So the first point Grant talks about is discipline. Whatever it is you're going to do in business right now is going to require a disciplined approach. And if you can't do that, you're just not going to make it. It's just as simple as that. I've seen this market, real estate, change over time, up, down, up, down. And this is where the people who insist on doing it the easy way end up getting a job or getting out of the industry. It always happens. And I would say, save yourself the misery. If you're not ready for the work, find a job. Take time off. Take a sabbatical. Travel the world for a year or 2 till the market adjusts. Or get to work. But if you do the work, there'll be rewards like never before, because the competition isn't able to keep up. So number 1 is the discipline. Number 2, he said, is know the new rules of the economy. Now, that's a complicated question, and I could have an hour to talk about that. But I think in summary, what I would say is things that worked 2 years ago don't necessarily work today. And the example I gave on a call this morning was you're going to be approached by a lot of real estate gurus and coaches who are going to tell you this great program that you can buy. This will sound very interesting and different, and key point, easy. And the question I always wonder is, well, why aren't they doing it if it's that easy? I'm a practitioner. I sell houses. I invest my excess money in real estate, and I offer investments to my clients. But I don't make a living charging you to do things that I'm not doing on my own. In fact, I don't charge you guys to do anything. I want to be with you. I have this call because I need to interact with you guys weekly to motivate me, keep pushing me to learn, to grow. But there's new rules. The rules that worked 2 years ago don't necessarily work today. Popular strategy for real estate agents was YouTube strategies on buyers moving into your market. There are people who made $1 million a year doing videos on why you should move to the Austin market. Guess what? There's like 50 agents who made $1 million on that. And they're all chasing the same 10 buyers coming in the area because the prices went up, rates went up, and the competition went up. So those rules don't work today. So you've got to look at the numbers that are appropriate for the market we're in today. And in real estate investing, those rules also change. Now, I will say that I've seen a few more opportunities as a potential investor and as an agent bringing deals to my clients. There's a little less competition. There's a little less money available. Requires a little more work. That's good. If you know that and you do the work, that's what we call the opportunity. So the fact it got tougher is not bad. The thing that got tougher is good if you got better also. Yeah, Jack says if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Exactly. So be thankful it's not. Don't wish that it was easier. You should ask that you get better. So number 2 is know the new rules. And in every business, every market, every niche, there's new rules, right? There were rules. You could buy anything because the prices were going so quickly, you'd make money. Now you got to be careful. It's got a cash flow. But we also seeing now properties moving to the rental market that were for sale now that can't sell. And that's going to change the economies in some rental markets. So that's number 2. Number 1 again was discipline. Number 2 was know the new rules. Number 3 is only do what's important. So in the last 2 years, a lot of us developed habits and practices that we get away with because it would feel like we were working 40 hours a week. But in reality, 20 of it was productive, 20 of it was wasteful. But for many of us, we made enough money, it didn't matter. It's going to matter now. Because everything's going to be twice as difficult. We need to put twice as much of our energy on the good things. We don't have time for the non-productive things. So you have to really evaluate your time spent. You know, there's a meeting I used to go to pre-COVID. Every weekday, I would go to court in LA. So I live in West LA. So it's about a half hour to court. And the way home was a half an hour. But one day a week, instead of going home, I drove a half hour to a meeting in the valley. And then from the valley, I'd come home because it really didn't then cost me 2 30-minute trips. I was already downtown. It cost me 1 30-minute trip. So my dead time was a half hour for the meeting of a couple hours. Now my dead time is 2 half hours, plus the meeting is as well attended. I can't afford to go. I'd love to go. It'd be fun to go. It boosts my ego to go. People like me there, know me. But per hour of work time is not productive. That's not to say I don't have fun, but my choice today to have fun is to finish my workday at 5 and go play with my grandson rather than have a little more fun during my workday. That's my choice. I'm not judging your choices. I'm just sharing with you my thinking. So if I can cut out a half-hour drive and instead of a 2-hour meeting, I'm on the phone for 2 hours, hopefully being productive, then in the long run, I'm more productive than if I drive and go to a meeting that isn't as valuable. Yet, the meeting associated with this group, the LAProbate meeting, again, to pitch it one more time, the meeting that's on January 12th, next Thursday, that's free, that's literally 10 minutes from my house, well, there'll be 250 people there were last month. And there'll be 50 other vendors, i.e. other real estate professionals. I can drive a half hour there, not half hour, 10 minutes there, be there for a couple hours and be home and see more people and make better connections. That I double down on. In fact, that I need to market more to get more of my prospects there to make my time more valuable. Does that make sense? So it's nice to say, well, I go to this or don't go to this. You better do something that's going to generate the leads for you in your business, whether leads be property opportunities you might want to invest in, or whether leads be sellers of property, or leads be other agents to build your team or your business. You got to think of it per hour. Where are you generating your business? How much time is it costing you to do that? And how much time is actually productive time versus wasted time? Okay, that was my soapbox. Questions, comments. Go ahead and argue with me. Raise your hand, put in the chat box, I'll unmute you. In fact, I'll allow, I think the Zoom bombers must have left by now, so I'll let you unmute yourselves until we have a problem. Come on, you got to disagree with something I said. Somebody's had the guts to say, Bill, that's a bunch of BS. Come on, somebody.
I think you went to normal. We all heard regular stuff that we already know. So you did good. You just reinforced what we think in our own head.
Really?
Yeah, no, it's pretty much where things have shifted to. So I go there. I can see that.
It's been there for a few months.
Yeah.
Okay. Who's got a good argument on me? Come on, somebody.
Well, what you say makes a lot of sense. Even if you are a USC fan, in the sense that
one is merely a UCLA fan, one is a Trojan.
Yeah. And the thing is going through all these cycles that I have working as a real estate attorney is to realize that every change is an opportunity. And it just depends on, being able, that's why, some people are good at it and some people aren't, because some people are good real estate professionals when the market is way up and there's the houses are selling for a lot of money and everyone, and then, it turns around and they're like, they have no idea what to do. And same thing with investors. Some investors are very good at making money when it's easy to make money, but that doesn't make you an investor. That just, makes you someone who is taking advantage of the situation. And when things are bad, people made a ton of money in 08, 09, 10, because they knew what to do with the situation. And that's basically kind of what you're saying is, you got to look at the situation and figure out what's the best way to make money and which one of them do you like. I go to the Sizzler every Wednesday and I hear 10 different ways that people like to make money. It's very interesting to listen to people talk about all the different ways that they like to make money with real estate and things I'd never heard of. You just got to find your niche.
Yeah. I think that the other thing I found is people made a lot of money in one cycle. For the most part, didn't keep it, because one of the challenges is psychologically, if you make millions of dollars, you start to live to the lifestyle, and you're not living off of the principal. You're not living off of the dividends of your principal. And I know a lot of people who kept the same game plan and started losing money. I know more of those. I do people who cashed out in one cycle and lived off that the rest of their lives. I just don't know many people have done that. I'm sure it happens. It sounds great. But I also would say this, there are a lot of people who made a lot of money on the last cycle we're headed into now, which is when properties are going to be sold more quickly with a little more margin and held on to it through the next period of time of the upswing. So, but you're right. It is a cyclical business. We've been around it for a while, and you have to know where you are in that process and make sure you're right-sized and, for me, ready for the opportunity. I hope you're ready for the opportunity. Go ahead.
Part of the trick is when you're able to start playing with the house's money, play with the house's money and not play with your money. And that's where, you start doing things exponentially. It's sort of like, when you go to Vegas and you're playing blackjack and when you win, you increase your bet. And when you lose, you go back down. And so if you have a winning streak, you actually end up winning more money and you're starting to play with the house money. If you're on a losing streak, you're only losing the minimum each time. And you expand that out to a decade of real estate investment. If you do that with your real estate investments to some extent, after a while, your original investment is sitting in the bank with some of the house's money, and you're doing everything else with the rest of the house's money.
Yeah, to Jack's point, that's kind of what we did. We couldn't do that during COVID when everything was hot, just because there's too many cash investors in the market. So you couldn't get in with house money. But our Pomona flip, I think we were out total like 90K. And then our Huntington Beach flip, we've been out maybe 150K. And so cash on cash return, almost double profit margin off of that, maybe 50-60%, but still pretty good. But more importantly, we wouldn't have gotten those deals if cash was still at play. So this market does make it easier, even though there's more volatile risk and a lower overall profit margin. But again, if you leverage house money like we've been able to, great. We don't have to compete with cash buyers as much anymore. So yeah, we do the same thing. So I agree.
Well, it's just to carry on with my gambling addiction analogy. When you first sit down at the table, you have to play with your own money. It's just how you play with it, and are your first couple hands winners or losers, and that kind of sets the tone for and as long as you're, some people, my brother calls it an anger bet. They lose 3 hands in a row. It's 3 $50 hands in a row, and they go screw it, and they put $200 out, hoping that they're going to win that hand and get everything back, and they'll be without. And instead they lose. Now, so you have to. That's where you have to sort of have a plan. And there's also what they say is when you go to Vegas, you bring a certain amount of money that you don't expect to get back, and that's the money that you play with. Is sort of your between money. It's not your money anymore, but it's not the house's money, and that's where you hope to. Before that money runs out, you hope to start winning. It's really interesting how similar those financial ideas. Obviously you're doing a lot more research when it comes to investing in property, and everyone's got their numbers that they're looking at and which ones they think will lead to, and that's where when you go to Vegas, the odds are always in favor of the house. If you do your research, you can turn the odds in real estate investing back to yourself.
It's interesting.
I'll stop talking about Vegas now. By the way, I'm going to Vegas on Thursday, so it's kind of in my head.
Well, to use your analogy, so I used to play when I was in high school and college. I played tournament bridge. So counting cards is a key skill. You have to know every card that's been played and who had them when you play bridge. So counting cards in blackjack is kind of a natural skill. And so I was doing research on blackjack, and the truth is, if you can keep track of the count, and if you get away with adjusting your bid properly based on the count, you can actually turn the odds slightly in your favor, about 2%. I think it's 2.5% actual number, if you play perfectly. Well, all that means is you have to watch 3 or 4 or 5 hands being played and count them, pay attention to them all, every single one. And you have to not be obviously counting. You can't have a calculator or a pen or pad of paper. You have to kind of do it in a way that looks nonchalant, or they're going to ask you to leave politely. And you have to adjust your bets and play the card properly. Well, that's a lot of work. We used to go to Vegas, and I would play there. And there's a rule. You buy a stake, like you said, and the stake should be you have to play for 20 times your stake should be 20 times your minimum play. So at a $20 table, your stake should be $400 as a general rule. And that way you have enough losing and winning that over time, your odds of you winning will play out. That's a lot of rules to pay attention to. And then at the end of the day, you're only getting about 1 or 2%. So you might per hour make $50, $100, $200 an hour playing $20 a hand. Well, that's like work. And so at the end of the day, it's just like work. Well, so is investing. I mean, for people do it, they're looking at deals every day. Then they're driving properties every day. Then they're looking at quotes every day. They're negotiating quotes or negotiating contracts. That looks like work at some point. But when you do it over time, you accumulate successes and victories and income and profits and appreciation and such. And so I think that's the point I was trying to make is whatever it is you're doing and whatever scenario you're in, this is a business at the end of the day. And business requires certain disciplines and activities and rules and procedures, and you got to work them. And if you do, you have a chance to have life-changing experiences. If you don't, then it's just kind of like entertainment, and you don't get paid much to watch football unless you're a professional announcer. So you're not going to get paid much to watch real estate. You have to really roll up your sleeves and get involved in it. Speaking of getting involved in real estate, Avram Gordon's rolled up his sleeves, did a couple flips out of state and in this great state of Kansas. I know you've been looking at for some customers here in LA. What are your plans for the upcoming year?
In Missouri.
You're going to move from Kansas to Missouri.
Well, we've been doing business in Kansas City, which is.
I thought it was in Kansas City, Kansas. So Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
But as we develop a little bit more money to play with, we can move to Kansas City, Kansas. Nice properties are nicer there.
So is our plan this year is to maybe look at doing a deal or two in Kansas City, Kansas?
Yeah, we'd like to expand what we're doing. I've been a little uncertain about the market. I haven't frankly known what to do. Prices haven't gone down as much as interest rates have gone up. But we'd like to acquire another property. I mentioned this to you, we're looking into tax liens as another way of acquiring property.
Right.
You know, the flood of foreclosures is not probably likely to happen the way some of the gurus say it was going to. That looks like an opportunity to try something a little bit different there, or that possibly here in California. And then on the other side, I'm starting to build a real estate sales business here.
Nice. Well, I'd love to help you with that.
And
Obviously.
love to have you help me.
So let's talk a little bit about real estate in the market. So Kansas City, Kansas, what's your sense of the market there?
You know, this isn't a bad thing. I see it as a good thing. It's a very average market. When you compare stats to Kansas City, oftentimes they mirror national stats.
Yeah, I do think that overall, all of our economies are more nationalized or more affected by national factors. You know, there's a great tool I just discovered, Altos Research. I did a video on it on my YouTube channel.
On who?
Altos Research, altos.re. It's free. You go to
Uh-huh.
Altos Research and you put in the zip code or city that you want to do. I live in 90035, and it creates a quick report. And I watched it, and now this is their barometer, and I think this is a little conservative, but they're saying overall the market is about a 36. It was about 39 a few months ago, maybe a month ago. And these key metrics. And the two that I watched are dollar per square foot and the inventory.
Mhm.
Those are the key numbers. And then you can scroll down and it gives you the those same metrics, depending on how you want to look at them. And you can break it down by market segments. And this is a key one for me. The market segments are, say, smaller houses and bigger houses. And what I would say is fascinating to me is here's an example of it. It's in Los Angeles. People say sales are down. What they mean is the total sales activity, units times sales price, is down. What's interesting is the price per square foot from September to December is up from $954 a square foot to $1,062, which means the same square foot of property, even though sales went down, prices went up. And then you look at this market segment, price per square foot. Now, I don't know why this is probably some sort of aberration of some sort. Let me see, are we back in LA? Yeah. And houses, and if houses versus condos. But you can see that in the market segments, that in each of them, the price is still higher than it was a year ago, for the most part. So that hasn't changed. The prices have gone down. This is going back 2 years. We're still above where we were 2 years ago, significantly above in some cases. Now, this is showing in this particular market segment. The upper tier, bottom, lower, upper 90, top 90. So the second segment, the 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath in this area had gone up quite a bit and has come back down into its normal range. But my point is, really quick, you can take a look at the market and see the stats. And I thought it was interesting to see Kansas City, Kansas, and different zip codes, of course, but we'll take the whole city.
Mhm.
And overall, you would see the inventory was 189 units down to 169 per square foot. 136 square foot, 135 is kind of flat, actually. So it's just interesting to see, just take a quick look at the market and see what the numbers are. Overall, the price per square foot in the market has consistently gone up. So yeah, just an interesting tool to look at. How are you looking to find properties in Kansas?
Well, we're going back in a couple of weeks.
There you go.
I'm a realtor there. I look at listings. I get some information from
Oh, look at
wholesalers.
that. The MLS.
But yeah. I'm looking more now at the MLS than I am at wholesales. I'm not there. Those properties have a lot of problems. And I'm feeling like the cost to me of overcoming the difficulties from that distance is greater than the benefit of investing in those kind of properties now. So I'm really thinking more about performing properties.
Where there's great opportunity, I think, is subject to properties or wholesaled,
Mm-hmm.
where the owner has a loan, they refinanced it and pulled most of their equity out and have a 2.75 or 3% interest rate on it. And if you can buy the property subject to their loan, you're gonna save a lot of money, and that doesn't get factored in the market price. If you can
How would you recommend searching for that kind of a opportunity?
there's a whole group of people. I would go on YouTube and watch Pace Morby sub 2, SUBTO.
Start with Pace, who?
Pace Morby.
PACE?
That's his first name. Morby is his last name. And I'd say he is the expert nationally on subject twos. That's his niche. And he's all over, social media. I'll put in the chat box.
Okay.
And I've watched a lot of it. And now he does sell a very expensive coaching program, like a lot of these people that I don't belong to. So that's their community. But I can say that he gives a lot for free. In fact, he gives so much for free. If you're paying attention, you may or may not need to take the program. And there's enough of those people on the internet in various Facebook groups and such that you might find them. But also those people might be coming to you as an investor. If you put out there, if you know enough about it to speak their language, that wholesaler can bring you the deal. You don't have to find it necessarily. You've got the money. And I think there are more and more of those people who are going to be anxious to be middlemen as wholesalers because they don't have the money to be a realtor or they have the money to invest on their own. And if you have cash to invest, it'll be this opportunity for you.
Well, I don't have that much. I could do a deal or two and then I've got a couple of investors maybe, but I'm here in California, how would I look for that kind of a potential seller here?
Well, again, I don't know that you need to find the seller. You might find the person who has the seller tied up.
Okay.
But you'll need to know what it is and know how it works so you can speak to them and encourage them to bring you deals. I say anybody on the call here, if you have a subject to that makes sense cash flow wise, I'm a buyer.
Wow.
I know Alvaro might be a buyer. I know Ed Garcia might be a buyer, others of you as well. So definitely, if you have a deal, the money right now is in having the deals. If you have a deal that makes sense, there'll be money for it.
Well, you're not kidding. There are not a lot of what look like deals. That takes a lot of digging.
Well, there's never a lot. When the market's hot.
Never is.
When the market's hot, there's competition. And yeah, that's the business. That's the business we're in.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, other questions, comments? So we had a guest here today, but I don't see Nadia here. So I know we confirmed via email, but I know stuff comes up. If you're there, just jump in. Chris Haskins also is subject to, and a lot of free stuff. Okay, good. I'm gonna look him up too. Chris Haskins. Anybody else have any? I think you see a lot of subject twos here in the next, and people just make a fortune doing those deals. Multifamily as well. Chris Haskins. Okay, there you go. I'm going to subscribe to him. Thank you for the reference. Good. Other questions, comments? Raise your hand. Not seeing any? No? Okay, well, I think we'll wrap it up then for today. I appreciate you being on the call today. When normally try to get a little more content in. Hopefully we'll have I'll get our speaker from this week into next week. I'm Bill Gross. This is our LA Real Estate Association weekly live cast. We do every Tuesday, 3 p.m. Pacific. We live stream it on Facebook, YouTube. And feel free, if you're watching this on recording, to ask questions there. I'll get to them after the fact as well. or at any time, reach out to me. I'm on social media at Bill Gross EXP. Thank you for being on the call today. If you like this, like it, subscribe to it. Hope to see you again soon. Make today your best day ever. Thank you, everybody.